Welcome back to the 13th Destiny podcast with Magnum and, of course, now co-host Danielle Long from San Diego, California, who will be with us in just a short period. She's on the phone patiently waiting, by the way. So anyway, today's show is going to be about the legend, myth, sightings of Bigfoot, and even some of the history. So that'll be what the show will be about. But first, let's talk about some paranormal news this past week. And one of the things we'll talk about. So Hollywood has a Bigfoot Sasquatch costume for sale. And guess what they started off with? They've got it on eBay. And the first thing they said was, no hoaxers. I got a kick out of this because they flat went to the trouble of writing up this whole thing about how this could be used to do a hoax and all that. And it was very interesting for them to actually put all this in there. But anyway, so they've got one of their costumes up for auction on eBay. Found that to be very interesting, especially since we're talking about Bigfoot coming up here on the show today. So that was interesting that was in part of the weird news from Paranormal this week. And I apologize. I think I just hit the mouse, and you may have heard that. That's my fault. I apologize. And then there's some other stuff that's going on that's kind of interesting too. So another news story is investigating the link between the Shadow Man phenomena and the terrifying Hat Man visitations. If the countless online accounts of paranormal investigators taught us anything, it's that there's no shortage of terrifying supernatural. With the internet's recent obsession with black-eyed kid encounters and more, shadow people visitations seem to be on the rise. But now there's this thing about the Hat Man. Shadow men weren't really thrown into the paranormal spotlight until around 2001. And that was all thanks to the world's prolific paranormal radio personality Art Bell, which is a fan favorite of both me and Danielle. Anyone unfamiliar with Art Bell, firstly, should be ashamed of themselves, especially if you're listening to anything paranormal about. You should go listen to every episode of Coast to Coast AM. And anyway, so now there's this hat visitor. Apparently, he's got a hat and comes in. It's like almost like a prowler. So it's a very interesting story, and you can find that on theweirdnews.com this week. That's where that came from. And then there's one other one that I want to talk about that's also on there this week. If I can find it real quick, I will apologize. I am doing an internet search, and some of you know I do that when I'm on the show in the past, so it's nothing new that I haven't done before. Well, I was looking for it. Okay, so going back to this, it's also kind of related to the other thing. A paranormal prowler, mysteriously shadow figure captured stalking man on a security camera this past week. And there is no explanation for it, according to the story. Late one evening, the man noticed sound scratching coming from the downstairs cat door. And then, of course, he found this on his camera later. Very interesting story. Check out the whole story on weirdnews.com. All right, so I'm going to give kind of a quick, brief history and thing of Bigfoot and Sasquatch, depending, because different names from all over the world, and Danielle will relate on some of that. He's going to be telling, I believe she told me she's going to be telling like 3 different stories, so we'll get with her in just a minute and start doing that. And she's got something going back to the 20s, so this should be a pretty cool show today. I also found out that Leif Erikson and his men recorded the oldest account of Bigfoot in the year 986 AD. They wrote about man-like beasts that were horribly ugly and hairy, swatty, and with great black eyes. So that's very interesting because now you can say that you have a story that literally goes that far back. So there has to be something to this, and there has to be some truth in this, because for all the people that's tried to say there's hoaxes and stuff, and also obviously with the Hollywood thing selling their costume and trying to say don't use it for hoaxes, we all know some people have tried to, but there's been some, in fact many, that are still unexplained. And obviously Leif Erikson's would be one that would be very unexplained. Okay, so we got all that out of the way, and as I said, there's different names from all over the world. There's been creatures like this spotted all over the world. There's big write-ups on Wikipedia. There's information on the History Channel. There's even things that painted rock with these things. So, or whatever they are, what beast, man, half beast. Not really sure. There's a lot of different theories on this. But anyway, so that's kind of a brief thing, and also he's also been described as maybe a mythical creature, perhaps. So there's a lot of things we don't know, but there's some things we do know. So we're going to turn it over to Danielle and let Danielle tell some of the stories that she's got on this awesome, very interesting. Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you call him, or Yeti, Abominable Snowman, they're all over the world. So anyway, Danielle, take it away.
Hi. Good to be here.
Welcome back. Hold on just a minute.
Yes?
Sorry about that. That's on me. And let me check this real quick. It seems like your audio is coming through a little loud. Let me see if I can get it adjusted before you start back. Try again now, Danielle. Try getting started now. I'm sorry, that's on me. Try it now. Go, Danielle.
Hi, it's good to be here.
There you go.
There is a encounter in 1924 called the Albert Oxman encounter. In 1924, a Canadian prospector named Albert Oxman claimed to have a remarkable and unsettling experience in the wilderness of British Columbia, Canada. Oxman's account is one of the most famous and peculiar Bigfoot encounters on record. Oxman's recounted that he had set out on a solo prospecting trip into the remote Toba Inlet area, hoping to find valuable minerals. He established a campsite near a waterfall and had been in the area for several days when one night he had a startling and bizarre encounter. According to Oxman, he was suddenly awakened in his sleeping bag by an enormous hair-covered hand that reached inside his makeshift shelter. He found himself being lifted off the ground by a powerful, massive hand, which belonged to a large ape-like creature. He claimed that he was carried for miles, unable to escape, by this creature that he later identified as a wild man. For 6 days, Oxman claimed he was held captive by the creature. He described the wild man as being around 8 feet tall, covered in hair, with human-like features, but a broader and flatter nose. The creature communicated through a series of guttural, grunting sounds. During his captivity, Oxman managed to feed himself with food from his backpack, which included dried peas. He stated that he decided to eat the peas for a few days, and the wild man seemed to watch with interest. Eventually, he decided to share some of the peas with the creature, and the wild man consumed them as well. One night, after a week of captivity, Oxman claimed that he woke to find the wild man agitated and in pain, clutching his stomach due to the indigestion caused by the peas. Oxman took advantage of this momentary weakness to escape. He reported that he fled the area and later told friends and family about his unusual ordeal. His story generated both curiosity and skepticism, and it had been a subject of debate among those interested in Bigfoot encounters. Some have questioned the authenticity of the story, while others find it intriguing due to its distinctive details. The Albert Oxman's encounter remains one of the most perplexing and debated stories in the realm of Bigfoot lore, and it continues to be discussed in books and documentaries on the subject. So what do you think about that?
That is a very. Can you hear me? Okay, yeah, there we go. That's a very interesting story. And the fact that he was held captive, basically, and had to take advantage of escaping when the Bigfoot creature was sick from the. That's very, very interesting story. I like that story. That's a good story. And
I mean, it's hard to believe they held him captive for like it held them captive for several days.
yeah, that also
And
to
he
me that
had to,
yeah,
you know,
right. To me, that also has some that the creature had a thought process. Apparently, if you're able to think about keeping someone captive, I mean that takes thought.
yes,
Just my just
and
opinion.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he did try and communicate, but it's like it doesn't have a voice box. It can't speak our
Yes.
language. It hasn't learned our language. If you go back and you think,
Right.
oh, if this is some kind of, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if I believe in Bigfoot or not.
Right.
I'm, I am more, I think, more towards yes, but it's kind of like the UFO thing. Unless we have a body,
Right.
it's like, but we have a lot of evidence for Bigfoot. We have their footprints, casts of their footprints,
Mm-hmm.
lots of sightings.
Right.
There
Thanks,
might have
Farby.
been probably some hairs,
Right. Yeah. Thanks.
taken. There's been footage. There's been footage taken, and it sounds like just like the UFO thing, but it just seems like we can't ever. It's like, I mean, I've heard some stories where they're very they can kind of blink in and out, like a portal or something like that.
Right.
Um, they can blend in. Oh, remind me of blending in. There was this one story that came out not too long ago in Southern California. There was a couple riding a train. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I have heard about that. Yes.
It was all over the news and
Yes.
things, and they were looking for elk. They were filming the side of the hill. They were looking for elk, and they filmed a Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's pretty clear, and it went all over on the news and everything.
Right.
Some people said, yeah, it could be. Some people are laughing, saying, no, it's not true. It's just somebody,
Right. That was
in some suit or something.
yeah. That was just in
But
recent history.
if you guys want to take a look, just look up Colorado sighting, 2023. I'm pretty sure, and it's pretty clear. Some of on YouTube, they'll show it up even closer.
Right.
I have mixed feelings about that, because I was thinking, okay, well, Bigfoot does like to blend into his surroundings, so that's okay. He did this Bigfoot that they filmed really did blend into the surroundings really well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was pretty good.
Right.
And another thing, I think it might be not Bigfoot and someone, maybe a hoax, is because, right there in front of the train, if it's going to come out anywhere, Bigfoot usually likes to hide. And if it's going to come out anywhere, you wouldn't think it'd be in front of a big train. I don't know. Unless it was just used to the train going by, or
that's possible,
or something like that. But it was like, okay, see me, right? I don't know. But that is pretty interesting. If anyone wants to go look up that.
Right.
Oh, you know what? I saw it was interesting before I knew what we were going to do this week. I went and I was watching on TV. I think something like the Unexplained show or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
and they were showing some things about Bigfoot. And here, an interesting thing I thought was it just seemed to be real. Was it was like this, like a kid. He was filming his father uh, taking an ATV and going and riding the ATV in like a stream. And the father was just riding, and all of a sudden, the father kind of stops and he points, and there's like this Bigfoot walking by. So, oh, he's like, he goes, what was that? Something like that. So that sighting seemed pretty real. The reaction of but the Bigfoot was just strolling along. Like,
Right.
he didn't care there was an ATV there. So I don't know. I mean, and pretty interesting stuff,
I think sometimes
right?
this is just going to be my take on this because there have been some people that said that Bigfoot may have been misidentified by it might have been a bears and stuff. I find that hard to believe considering the descriptions of a bear compared to the descriptions of a Bigfoot. However, going back to being comfortable in your surroundings, this could go back to the bear part of being comfortable when they've been around like humans too much or had some kind of encounter in the past and they're not afraid of something or they're used to something. Like you said about the train, maybe they were used to the train. So I find the whole misidentification thing that they try to throw back to the bears. I've been in the forest where bears are at, and I'm sorry, I've seen bears up close and personal, way too close sometimes, and a couple times in my life. And there is no way that the description of Bigfoot and the description of the bear even comes close to matching. I think that's just some people, like rangers and stuff, trying to play it off. That's just my opinion, of course, because we don't like.
Well, it's like if you haven't seen it, you don't. It's hard to believe it if you haven't seen it.
Yes, absolutely.
Just like I had an experience, if you haven't, like, not too long ago, it was late at night, maybe 1 or 2 in the morning, and I went to. Okay, so I saw my dog looking at the front door. He didn't bark or anything. So I was like, oh, what do you see? So I got up to go to the front door to look out the window to see if there's anybody or anything going on out there. And when I got to almost to the door, I heard the most, like, growl. Like, it was scary, scary. It was not my dog. Definitely not my dog. And if you weren't there, I was there, I heard the growl. So what I've learned to do in any kind of paranormal situation is just ignore it. So I tried my best. I just turned around. I didn't even look out the window because I was right there. It was like it was coming from the other side of the door, like this growl like I've never heard before.
Right.
It was like I was scared inside. I was scared, but I did not look out the window. I got almost to the door. I turned around, walked back, and tried to pretend like nothing happened. But I know what happened, but do you guys believe me? Well, you weren't here to see it. So kind of like that with the UFOs and abductions and all this other stuff. I think we all just kind of like go, oh, it's not. It might not be real to others unless they see it for themselves. And the only part is, if we're going to believe, is like if you have a dead body or something like that.
Right. Right.
Because as of right now, everybody's saying, oh, the professionals, they're like the scientific people. They're saying, oh, well, we don't have enough. It's folklore.
I don't know
There's a thing where we want to so badly see a human thing and something else.
Right.
It's people making up, getting in costumes. So there's I think there's just been so many sightings of them and so many stories that people in costumes just don't. Like, why would they be there at that time doing in a costume type thing? You know,
Right. Well, let's try
I
something.
kind of believe that they could be real.
Right. Well, let's go back to. Well, I always say on the show, we only discuss things and we leave it to you what you want to believe. And these are our certain opinions that we have, history, things I've done in the past, or stories I've been given on paranormal stuff, or stories I've experienced, like one with a former girlfriend, also one from my friends in Arizona. But I just kind of, let's go back to this where we opened the show. So if that's true, if you want to sit here and say everything's a hoax, and again, this is open for interpretation of what your view, how you believe, and what you want to do, because that's what we do with our show. We don't try to do anything except give these things out: histories, facts, sightings, paranormal activity, stuff like that. But explain if that's the case, then Leif Erikson and his men just totally. Someone was in costume in 986 A.D. I really find that hard to believe, and that description is
I
very.
know, and then it's all over the world. It's not like, oh, it's an American folklore.
Yeah,
It's like these have been seen everywhere, all
exactly.
over the world.
Right, and
So it's when I was young, I first heard about it in Bigfoot as a kid, and that was the first time I heard about Bigfoot. And I thought, in my mind, in my brain as a kid, I thought, I don't really know if it's real, but my mind went to the Bible
right,
for some reason.
that's interesting.
Maybe I don't know. And then now as time's going on and on, I'm thinking as we get more evidence and more evidence, I'm thinking more towards yes, they are real.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there were giants on the earth at one point. I mean, and
That's what I thought about
yeah, that's
as a
been proven.
kid. And I'm like, well, they're pretty tall.
Right.
They're pretty big, and I personally would never, ever want to run into a Bigfoot.
Now
And some seem to be annoying, like they throw rocks at people, and a lot of them don't. They'll just walk away. But some seem to be. I've heard of stories of very aggressive and throwing like big boulder rocks at people, and they're running for their lives, thinking they're going to get hurt.
Yeah, which
Have you heard of it? Have you heard of any stories that someone actually got hurt?
Yeah, I've heard of a couple of stories like that, and
Right?
hold on a minute. I'm sorry, we're getting an interruption here. Are you still there, Danielle?
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying. Are you hearing that, or just me?
What?
Someone's trying to call through while it's a call that I'm not taking. I don't even know that. Anyway, it was a California call, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm already on California. Sorry, I think it was some telemarketer trying to call us during the show. That almost makes it funny. But going back to we'll go. Wow, you know what? That's just funny. But anyway, going back to that, I have heard of some stories like that of some aggression. And as far as that aggression and with that kind of strength, that also lends itself to be more of something from further back in our past. It just doesn't fit for modern times as far as anything human-like. So I'm going to go with the theory of, and this is just an opinion, maybe a theory of mine, is that Bigfoot is possibly maybe an offshoot of the giants that walked Earth at one time, and that's why they're able to maybe get away from us and stuff and things, and we just don't know the whole story there. And sometimes you just gotta have a lot of faith about some things, and because there's a lot of things that you can't prove or disprove because you just haven't either experienced it, or you haven't seen it, or you just don't have the evidence. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist, doesn't mean it does exist. And that's what I always go back to on my shows when I've talked about paranormal stuff, which was one of the main subjects we wanted to dab into when I first started the show, is that sometimes you just can't prove everything. And just because you don't have something doesn't mean it's not real. Doesn't mean it is. You have to form your own opinions. That's what I always tell on my show. Form your own opinions. What do you believe? And there's going to be people who always are skeptics about everything. Doesn't matter. This show is for entertainment purposes, and we do talk about subjects that are paranormal. And I will be, interviewing paranormal people, investigators and stuff some more down the road. But yeah, I just don't buy into this. It just can't be, period. Because there's a lot of things that we believe in our lives, and we have to have a leap of faith to believe them. So that's what I feel. So what else do you have for me, Danielle?
I just think though, where is, if they're smart, are they half man and half ape? Are they more ape than man? Are they more man than ape? I just seem to wonder about that.
So yeah,
there have been really good recordings of their sounds.
Mm-hmm.
What they sound like and the sounds they make. But I've always wondered, if they're so smart, where have we found any tools that they have made? Any habitat, like a house? Have they built like a shelter? Do they hide in caves? What do they do at night? Do they just sleep on the ground, like in the middle of the forest? Or I've heard of sticks being broken and trees, being broken and stuff like that. But I've never, anyone come across the home of a Bigfoot. So where's their home, their house?
Well,
maybe they just spend the time just wandering all over the place?
Well, do they necessarily have to?
It's stuff like that I'm just like, okay, so, they don't have a home?
Well, let's
where's the babies' house?
Right. Well, let's put
their babies.
Right.
Are these? I heard that these things are living 900 years.
Right.
So is that possible?
Well, there's people in the Bible that live 900 years.
So still, what ifs? Why don't we see makeshift stick hut houses out there? But if they're furry and if they're more animal-like, then you would think they wouldn't make a house, or they wouldn't make shelter.
Or
even some animals make shelter.
Right.
Some kind of shelter.
Wouldn't need the kind of shelter.
So I just kind of where is the evidence? Where is, there's still more evidence to, I don't know.
Yeah, well,
it could be found.
Well, let's put this into comparison for modern times with I've got something on that. You brought something up about where is there evidence of a shelter, now we know even animals have built shelters and stuff like that. Let's think about this. We have a homeless population that drifts from place to place, and often, but they even make temporary shelters in places, hide out and stuff. So it's kind of interesting if you put that into comparison with the Bigfoot over the history. Why haven't there been? You have a very valid point here, because if you think about that from a human standpoint, if you have more of the human side and you look at some of the stuff going on with like I mentioned, the homeless population, they roam from place to place, but they always try to find a way to make shelters, even makeshift. Which is a thought process. So where's the thought process with the Bigfoot? If the Bigfoot exists, going back to, again, this is a show that we just dabble into these things and see what you think. But yeah. So why? And you've got, like you say, you got animals that do this. So why between those? Put those two things into comparison. So why haven't we found anything? More, I guess, solid evidence. Maybe the term I'm looking for, solid evidence on this, because we have a lot of circumstantial evidence. We do have things that point in the direction of something being out there, but what exactly is it? What really is it? What's really going on? And I think that's what the problem is. I think, like you said, we don't have a body. But are these things something like it's
And one other thing, if I may,
yeah.
where is the baby? The baby, like, if they've been around for a long time, where is the, okay, so you have these big Bigfoots, but wouldn't they have children? And where's the baby footprint?
That's a good point.
And it's, where's all the little baby footprints all around that you would want to see them? Usually the sightings are not of families. Usually the sightings are of them already grown up and being really big. Now, I'm sure there's some story out there or stories, where
Well,
you might see a baby, but I don't hear many stories of little baby ones running around,
right?
with, leaving footprints everywhere.
Do we have we?
I don't. I mean, do they reproduce?
Right.
I don't know.
Have we ever?
Do they run in packs? Because usually when you see a Bigfoot, they're alone. Usually.
Right.
You don't see. You usually hardly ever see a Bigfoot in a family group. Which I've heard that they've been in family groups and have together thrown. Oh, this would have been scary. I heard a story about the Bigfoot where these guys went out and they were camping in a little log cabin, a small little cabin down by the water, and they were in the cabin, and then all of a sudden, this guy saw a figure in the window, and he's like, "Well, what was that?" And then he kept looking, and then this big old Bigfoot face looked in the window, and then the Bigfoot started attacking the cabin, and these guys got so scared. So that means that's more than what I'm trying to get at. Is that means there was more than one Bigfoot.
Right. And while you were
so they do come together sometimes.
Right.
But mostly they seem to be solitary
creatures.
Bigfoot, just walking around, and so I don't see any. If they're in groups as a clan, I don't see any evidence of what they eat. Okay, where are all the? What are they eating? Are they eating fish? Are they just going and catching wild? Where's the bloodshed? Where's the weird?
Right. Where's that evidence at?
A weird, okay. And also, they've been linked to, being, Bigfoot's been linked to being going in and out of UFOs, which I find is interesting. And I don't know. I just have a hard time with it all. It's kind of confusing a little bit to me. I'm learning more and more.
Right.
But I still have questions of, more about, their habitat and their family, any kind of social, they seem to want to stay away from us, and they will attack or try and scare you away, stay away.
Well, let me interject something real quick.
So are they going in and out of portals,
Who knows on that?
The Lost 411 where people are disappearing in national forests? Mm-hmm. Well, there's maybe been a link to maybe people are being taken by Sasquatch.
Right.
They're being found all these far away, and I don't know. It's possible. I have no idea. What do you think about all that?
All that's very possible theories. Anyway, when you brought up the thing about the baby Bigfoots that you had, I actually typed that in, and there is actually some talk about baby Bigfoots and stuff on the internet, which is I did not know this, and I was just while you were doing that, I was like, well, let me see if there's anything, and sure enough, there is some. It's not as much as the other, obviously, but there are some claims, and so obviously I'm just pulling this up. I'm not dabbing.
There's claims, but where's the evidence?
Yeah, well,
Do you have baby Bigfoot tracks?
One of these is, ironically, from Animal Planet of all things, which I thought was kind of weird. I didn't even know about it. It said incredible baby Sasquatch sighting finding Bigfoot. Something I don't know. I'd have to look at the video. I don't know what that's all about. But But yeah, there was some stuff on here. And there's some questions that are asked on the internet too, just like you did, about does Bigfoot have an infant, and all this stuff. And yeah, so you brought up you got my attention when you brought that up, because I was like, well, you know what? I've really never dabbed into that part of the Bigfoot legends, myths, sightings, or anything, which is the show is about today. And I hope I've slowed myself down enough that you can understand me better. But yeah, I'm really finding this.
I saw one video. I did see one video. Of where there was it was hanging from the trees, and kind of like
Yes, yeah, that's on here.
A baby one,
right,
was hanging from the trees and going here and there. And they said that there was a mom, like a big one down below, and then it was swinging. But to me, it looked like it's not real clear, but it looked like a little baby. It looked like a baby monkey swinging from the tree. So I don't know. They were trying to claim that was Bigfoot.
Well, you know what's
baby Bigfoot
right,
swinging in the trees. And to me, it looked like a monkey swinging in the trees. So I don't know.
You know what's also amazing to me is that Bigfoot was investigated by the FBI. Did you know that?
I was wondering, just like the UFO concept, they've been investigating that, but I was wondering if they've been investigated by the FBI.
Yeah.
What did the FBI have to say?
Well, in 2019, the FBI released its 4-decade-old file on Bigfoot, including analysis conducted on hair that allegedly belonged to Sasquatch. The results, they said, were deer hair, according to what they had, which I find kind of funny. No offense to nobody in the FBI, but guys, sometimes some of your stuff, being an investigator too, sometimes I just have to laugh, because I'm not sure if you were following the same leads that other people were following, or if you were just trying to get a disproof there. But anyway, so apparently since the 1950s, the U.S. Version of Bigfoot, a tall, hairy, human-like creature believed by some people to dwell as far as the American Northwest and some other places, prompted the FBI. And since 1976, the FBI has had files on him. So apparently the FBI spent some quite a bit of taxpayer monies here to investigate Bigfoot, of all things. So that's an interesting thing. I'll be honest.
If they're investigating, they might think some of it's like real. It might be real,
Yeah, and I'm just shocked
because it's just so there's so many people. Like, it's not. I don't think it's as much as the UFO sightings, because
right, the UFO
Bigfoot's pretty elusive.
Yeah, the UFOs are totally different.
I do think that that there's so many and all over the world that there's something to it. Why couldn't a species have come down and survived?
Right. Well, that's another thing.
Whether it was ape to begin with, and through like millennia and millions of years, it started to walk upright. It doesn't it doesn't talk or whatever, right?
Right.
But who knows?
Well, as far as we know, it doesn't talk.
But I'm just kind of saying, why not? Yeah. Why couldn't there be another species out there, just like other cryptids?
Well, let's go. You bring up a very good subject right there. Okay, so for all the people that say everything's a hoax or you're skeptic, and again, I don't try to push you and say, hey, I believe this 100%. I just try to show there's evidence for this, there's evidence for that. Here's the other thing. Think about this. How many times, and let's just talk about this, how many times in the last 25, 50 years has a species been discovered either in the ocean or in the forest or other places that we thought was either extinct, or it was a new species which was actually left over? There's tons and tons of that stuff that happens every day. The depths of the ocean, we find new species all the time that we didn't know exist. This is scientific fact. There's no denying that happens, because it will get news. So to say that there's no ability for this to be real, I don't know that that's true, because we got a lot of species that show up out of left field, and you go, whoa, what? When did this? and scientists will say, well, it's been around. We just didn't find it. We didn't know it was there. Well, those are the very words used with Bigfoot. We didn't know it was there, and suddenly we actually do have the evidence. Now, again, I
just wish that more people just have an open mind.
Right.
You know?
Well, that's kind of hard for a lot of people.
To say, oh, absolutely not. It's not, it's not real. And even though there's hair samples, there's voice samples, there's film, there's feet samples, the plaster feet samples. So, could all that be hoaxes? In my gut, I can't say. I don't feel that it's all hoaxes.
Right. Well, here's my thought on that.
All around the world, everybody.
Exactly. So, are the skeptics willing to say everything's a hoax all the way back to that very first sighting? I mean, are you to say that this many things? I would like to leave it in more of, and it's an opinion, more in the theory of it just hasn't been discovered to the degree to prove. That's it. That's my thought. I mean, there's things that I believe that a lot of people don't believe, but I do them by faith. I don't worry about that. But the thing is, if you're going to sit here and say this many hoaxes were done around the world, that's a lot of hoaxes, and that's a lot of time and effort to me. And here's the thing: most and the ones that have been hoaxes over here have been discovered. Okay, they've been discovered really, really quick. But then there's a ton of evidence of stuff that have not been proving as hoaxes. So I think it's fairly easy to prove a hoax, and then you have all this other evidence, and you can't disprove it. So you got a problem, guys. I mean, you're gonna have to make a decision on what you believe. And again, I don't tell anybody what to believe, but you have to make a decision on your own thought process. And I'll go with Danielle. A lot of people just aren't open-minded about a lot of stuff. That's just reality, unfortunately.
That's just normal. Yeah. Yes. So that's just.
Right.
I mean, I wish I could go and get a Bigfoot and say, "Come on, national TV."
Wouldn't that be? Oh my goodness!
Say hello.
Wow. Wow. Well, you know
it. Not gonna go. That big hairy ape over there. Come on, give me a hug. Nah, I don't think I would ever want to run into one.
Now, from all indication,
and that's kind of sad because what I heard, it could be. Not only could it be, how we could have. I'm having species bias. But I'm sorry, I wouldn't want to run into a Bigfoot or a rattler. And if I have species bias, I guess I could. But there's certain things that I don't want to run into. How about you?
I think, between the two of us, I think I might be.
Are you gonna go out and you have lots of property in there? Are you going to go out looking for Bigfoot?
Well, I don't know if Bigfoot's out here with me or not. But I'll tell you what. Listen. Okay, well, let's put it this way. Now, if either one of us was to get a Bigfoot and could prove that it's Bigfoot, well, I don't guess we'd ever have to worry about having any money for the show then. Now, would we? Oh my god! Oh my goodness! I can't even imagine what that would be like if you actually were able to get a real Bigfoot and actually get it onto, and it was proven that. Oh my goodness! Could you imagine? I can't even imagine what that reality would be like. That would be like, okay, and everybody goes. Well, look at this. The people who were talking about it actually got one. Oh my goodness. I think at first I might be in shock. I don't know. Danielle, I think of the two of us, I might be a little bit more the adventurous type. I think most people know that. But I don't know. Coming up against something 6 foot and above, and huge as some of these have been talked about, because I think the average, it's more than 6 foot. So, some of them I'm talking about 7, 8 foot. So
the average is like 6. Well, you can have them as small as 6 feet, but they can go up to 8.
Yeah.
8 or 9 feet,
Yeah,
8
so
or 9
I
feet,
think,
and be up to 2,000 pounds.
yeah, I think 8 foot.
So, and then in the different, in all of the world, you have like different, hair colors.
Right.
You have and a lot of them smell. Do you know what I heard also? I heard that some of them have like an electrical charge if you get too near, that it kind of like shocks you or something. And
Right.
I'm like, whoa, what
Right.
is that? I don't want that. And they have these big, like in the dark, their eyes like turn like red.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now this
It's
is a.
nothing that I want to be
I don't know if you've ever. I don't know if you.
around.
I don't know if you've ever seen this movie or not. It's fictional, of course, but it was about. It's called Snow Beast. There's two. There's two of them. One was in like I think the late '70s, and the other one was filmed with John Snyder not too far back. It was a remake. I think the first one was played by the guy that played Buford Pusser in the second and third Walking Tall. But anyway, it was a very interesting movie because it was like the Abominable Snowman had showed up in, like, I think it's Colorado, if I remember correctly. I think that's where they filmed it. And it was just very interesting how they were